Everybody. We are having a vertical video today, apparently, which is a bit of a sin. It is a bit of a sin in this world, but that's okay. Because today we're finishing our network install in the chicken coop. And so what we're going to do is we are going to install a Cat5 cable into the chicken coop, and then the chickens will be able to watch TV. Don't worry, I'm not really doing that, but it's kind of a fun joke. So what we're going to do is I figured that we haven't had a Sunday hang time for a while. So the chickens are there. Hi! Hi, girls. Are you being bugged by Mr. Randy? Do we have any eggs? Nope, just fake ones. So, hi, Margaret. Are you wanting to lay? Because if you are, I can leave you alone. Would that be good? Do you want me to leave you alone, sweet pea? Just like, yes, I would very much like you to leave me alone. That's definitely a chicken who wants to be left alone. Anyway, up here, you'll notice we've got a camera that we installed. And we've got some Cat5 cabling that comes through here. And this Cat5 cabling brings us power over Ethernet into our chicken. Let me show you where it goes. Let's leave these guys alone for a bit, because I'm pretty sure that's she wants to lay in peace. So down the outside of the chicken coop, this is armoured, outdoor rated Cat5 cable. Runs all the way under here, all the way behind here, under the kind of the deck area. Underground, comes out here and snakes up this pipe all the way up into the attic, and then it goes through the attic and drops down into the server room. Now I should note that this conduit here actually carries all of the Ethernet for our house. And the little thing that cable tied on the outside is a lightning conductor for our backup internet connection, which are the two antennas on the right. So both of our internet connections are wireless. The one on the left is the big powerful one. The one on the right is our backup one. And so when we bought the house, we paid a proper networking team to put networking in all of the rooms in the house. If I move the bin, you'll probably see it. Actually, I probably don't even see. Into the crawl space, you'll see some cables going in there. That is our downstairs networking. And from there, all of the cables go everywhere in the house. And because I think Margaret is getting ready to lay, and she's being hassled by a very bully rooster. This is Sally, our rooster, who is being just the biggest cock. He really is. So the irony hasn't been lost on me, the fact that I just had trouble with my networking connection, trying to install networking in our house. And I know a lot of you have shown some interest in how our house is put together. So let me show you the other end of this. So networking day here at the house. We are doing a whole lot of networking doodaddery. So I've already had my breakfast, otherwise I might have a nice egg for breakfast. Which is... And here is the Transport Evolved backup server. We're currently installing CentOS 8 on it, because we had one of the boot drives died. Yes, I did. I found the punch tool. I had a dream about it, and I remembered in my dream where I'd put it. And so I remembered on the list of things to do today is also some housework. So let's turn this off. So, welcome to my server room. We have a large number of servers in here, in the server closet. I've already taken the door off. So what you'll see here is family server, what I call the family stuff. The Raspberry Pi chilling out down here, which runs Pi-hole. Then we have the Transport Evolved server, the main one, the one that stores all of our video footage. The one that was downstairs was our backup one. This is our backup server that we sometimes use for TE stuff. It's an old iMac, not iMac, what do they used to call them? Xserve. So that runs some extra software to help with TE. And then we've got all of our networking devices kind of chilling out at the top. And as you can see, we are a little bit cramped in here. So this is our PoE injector here. And then we have our patch bays. And if you look at the back here, you'll see that these go on and on and on for what feels like miles. So what I'm going to do is, these are the cables that we ran through the house yesterday, and I'm going to punch these down, and then hopefully once I punch them down, once I punch these down, then I'll be able to install them and everything will be hunky-dory. Before we do that, I do just need to make sure that all of these cables are going to work the way they're supposed to. So, first thing I need to do, I'm sorry I missed that last one. It's amazing how much stuff is needed to put on a YouTube channel. Well, most people don't. So, like, I feel I should probably acknowledge at this point that the reason that Transport Evolved has a video server is because we shoot in 4K and 6K, and we don't get rid of any of the footage that we shoot. So for the first sort of 8 years of Transport Evolved, a lot of that stuff has got lost in the, to time. But over the years, we've got to a point where we now try and keep everything. And that's because car companies go bust, especially in the EV world. Car companies go bust, and people no longer have the footage. And when you ask for the footage, they kind of look at you like you've... My mum used to say, you're a bit stuck. So we keep all of our footage here. Now, when I had the studio, one server lived at the studio and one server lived at the house, and that was the backup server. We need to find a co-location server location. Sorry, let me start that again. We need to find a co-location for the backup server, which we don't have right now. Currently, we have 2 servers in the same house, which is terrible. So the problem with a good NAS box is that it doesn't have a lot of the functionality we need. So for us, it's not just about storing the data, it's about storing the data and having it accessible. So we need 10 gig connection between the server room and my edit machine. God, armoring on this stuff is... I'm trying to get through the sheathing on this cable. I didn't want to use a knife because I have a terrible habit of cutting through the cabling. Let's see. I can get this. And this is so thick it won't go through, obviously, any of the holes on there. Maybe I should go and get my actual proper wire strippers, which are in a different part of the house. I might actually just go do that. Is online storage for older stuff not an option? So here's the thing. So let me think of a good example. So take the original Nissan Leaf. Okay, the original Nissan Leaf debuted 9 years ago. Actually 10 years ago, this October. It was first kind of unveiled. Debuted 10 years ago. And it doesn't feature in videos on a daily basis. But we have a 20 megabit per second connection down the valley. I'd like to increase that to 30 megabits per second, but that would increase the cost of our internet to $400 and some dollars a month. So when we bought this house, we knew that networking would be our biggest challenge, getting data out of the rural area, because we are 10, 15 miles from the nearest big town. So I think there might be cable to the town that we are technically part of, which is a weird thing in America. If you live in the country, you are technically part of a it's a fun one. So what you have to have happen is you need to have access to all of this footage, and you need to be able to access it at an instant's notice. Now, if we kept all of our older stuff on a server somewhere, if we needed that and it was online, three things. One, we've now got 150 terabytes of storage in the main server, and about 800... No, that's wrong. 150 terabytes in the main server, and probably about 70 terabytes in the backup server. Because the backup server only backs up original footage. It doesn't back up any of the projects. And if we needed to access any of those files online, in order for us to have, folders and stuff that we could access instantly, we would need to pay for high redundancy, easy access, and that's more expensive than like a glacial storage system. So that's a bit of a pain. I'm really struggling here with this networking cable. I guess it means that it's really strong, which is a good thing. So what we do is we have to keep it all here, because if there's a breaking news story involving a car that we don't think we need anymore, we'd then have to wait for hours, literally, for that footage to download from a server somewhere. And we just don't have that time. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I dug up some footage, literally from 14 years ago, of me driving, was it 14 years ago? What's the date now? From 10 years ago, me driving a Tesla from like 2009 or 2010. So 10, 11 years ago. And I had to dig that footage up. And I was able to dig it up at a moment's notice because it was on the server. I just had to find it on the server. And everything is kind of set up by year, make, model, which was easy. So it's just a case of me kind of being able to dig it out and put it in. So that's why we have to store everything locally. And believe me, I have had this conversation so many times with people over the years, including my wife, right, honey? It's a lie, she says. My wife, when my wife is in IT, and when we were talking about storage and needing the server and everything else, her first question was, well, why don't you just store everything online? And it wasn't until I said, this literally is how much storage we'd need, that she went, oh, I see. Right. We will probably at some point get an online deep storage, you know, and that will be slightly different, but for that, I don't know. So Derek said, where are you, Derek? He said, I wonder how SpaceX and Amazon might change internet access for rural areas when it comes out. My sister currently can't get better than 1 megabit per second. Well, so it's an interesting one, right? Because SpaceX obviously is the go-to at the moment. And I've got a twisted pair, except one of them doesn't appear to be a pair. Oh, no, it's there. It's good. We're all good. So one of the challenges, I think, with, you know, big companies like Amazon and SpaceX putting internet in rural areas is that while you may end up with a really good connection for your average Joe, your average consumer, anyone who does kind of anything remotely veering onto high data throughput, like me, is always going to end up with a specialist internet connection. And just to be clear, our internet connection in our house is not normal. So we have a local ISP here in our part of, I'm not going to name them because that kind of gives them where I live, but we have a local ISP and they are locally owned, and they have been really good with us, like super good. We're not allowed to have a traditional web server, so we do have a web server that we're preparing, but you know, we have been really lucky with them. They've been really good to us. They haven't given us too much grief, and it's if something goes wrong, we can ring them up and they go, oh yeah, we'll fix it. I need to grab another wire stripper because the Ethernet's here. I've actually cut the cable, so I'm gonna go down and get my proper wire stripper because I can't keep doing that. So let me go and make myself a coffee, and we'll go from here downstairs, and I can tell you more. But for those who are kind of curious, because I didn't really show you where the cables go. So these are all the cables, please excuse the mess. These are all the cables coming out of the server closet where the switch is. And I think it's these two black cables here are the new, no they're not. They are these two. These two black cables are the two outdoor rated cables that are going up into the attic, across the ceiling. They kind of go across that ceiling and out the other end. And every room in this house has at least two of these in every room. So you've got two here. This is the iMac. Some people have been questioning whether the iMac is real or whether I Photoshop stuff. So maybe There you go. This is a real iMac. And I need to install 10.5 on it today. That's one of my other jobs. So you can see, it's a real iMac. It's booting. This is the aftermath of us getting back from Lucid last week. But these are our lights. We've got a lovely light, big light here, another big light there. This is where we have our camera set up with our V-mount battery. This is our new Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K, which is one of the reasons why we've had to expand our file service. But yeah, look, it's a functioning computer, and if we need, so this is how we display things on here. So we open up our picture, and it's network connected. Takes a while because this computer is what, 15 years old, maybe? And then we literally just go, I would like you to display that in a slideshow, and then it will display that as a slideshow picture in the background when I'm talking on camera. So that's how we do that, just in case you were interested. So I'm going to take care of that later. So this is all the soundproofing that we've got in here. This used to be our guest bedroom until COVID, and now it's just a studio. And this is kind of normal for a studio. Your cables and things everywhere. So this is our server room. Obviously we've got the inlets and the outlets. And then this room is where all the editing takes place. So you can see the Transport Evolved business has really taken over kind of the entire house. So where are we? Let's switch over. So that is essentially why we have a massive internet connection, because we need a massive internet connection. Is it second breakfasts? Second breakfast. My wife's having a cookie. Second breakfast. So, so I was talking to you about our ISP. Our ISP is based locally. They're a really lovely group of people, and they charge a reasonable amount of money for a residential connection. So a residential connection is a residential connection be out here, which would probably be about $100 a month, and it would be what they call it's a burst, so it would have a maximum download speed of about 12 megabits per second and an upload of up to 5 megabits per second, which is fine. 12 down, 5 up would be enough for most people. However, if you're running a business from your home, you need to have the business account, you need to have the business connection, and that gives you a better priority on the network traffic. And we are currently paying $350 a month for a 20 down, 20 up connection. And I may increase that to a 30-30 now that we've got rid of the studio and we can afford to buy that extra bandwidth. Which means that instead of it taking, 3 hours to download all of the new B-roll for some new car that's launched, we can maybe do it in an hour and a half. So that's probably what we'll do. But that's why we have so much networking in the house. That's why we have so many networking ports. We're also a bit nerdy, so we have a large number of computers. Which brings me to the chicken cam. Because we're out in the middle of nowhere, because we're in the boonies, we have a lot of predators. The coyotes were howling last night, something chronic. They woke me up at about 4 o'clock this morning. really, really just going at it, really howling, like proper howling, like crazy howling. And we also have bears. We also have bobcats, cougars. We have raccoons. And so we want to see what's coming into the garden at night, especially around the chicken coop, so we can make sure the chickens stay safe. But it's also kind of a security for us. And so we are putting all of this in today. I ran the cables yesterday. Today I'm going to punch everything down and get everything running. And from there, hopefully, we'll be able to make sure that we can see what's going on in the coop. But there's also kind of a secondary reason, and that's another kind of sneak way. So if you want to install additional lights, you have to have a permit. If you want to install extra charging stations, you have to have a permit. How many new sockets do we need to put in the garage? Like 5 or 6. My wife wants new power in the garage so she can run her woodworking tools. This house was designed and built in 2006, and it was designed and built in 2006 for all of these extra things for a modern world, but not a modern world where people have server rooms in the middle of the countryside where you've got power tools and electric cars and everything else. So while our power, when we bought the house, there is 400 amps here at the house. We're going to put solar on at some point. We want to put a heat pump in so we can have air conditioning and heating. But the circuits as they stand right now are getting pretty overloaded. We have to run kind of cables from the bathroom into the office to keep the AC running in the office when it's really hot, because you have window mount ACs at the moment. We have to be careful about the number of things we've got on the circuit that the servers are on, because it will just trip if it's overpowered. And there are certain tools my wife can't use in the garage while other things are running, because it'll pop. You can't use the vacuum and a power tool, can you, at the same time? Oh, you can't hear me. You can't use a power tool and a vacuum in the garage at the same time. So while we have 3 charging stations for our electric cars, we literally have 3 charging stations, we still need extra power. So in the next couple of months, we're going to be running extra power, and that means permits, and that means electricians, and that's expensive. Getting electrical stuff out to the garage, out to the outhouse where the chickens are, to the chicken coop, is extra hard. You have to get all the permits and stuff. So we decided to cheat. By the way, these tomatoes are turning red off the plant, which is pretty darned cool. So what you do is you can use power over Ethernet. And so that's the other reason why we ran that power to the coop. So power over Ethernet. We've got that PoE injector in the server room. I built a Raspberry Pi with a solid state hard drive and a camera. We installed that. Milk from the local farm. Support your local farmers. Beautiful dairy farm just down the road from us. I grew up on a dairy farm, which some of you may not know. The cows are really well looked after. I actually took my wife around there yesterday and showed her the calves. This is cute. So we wanted to have this little Raspberry Pi out in the chicken coop with a camera, and it's got a power over Ethernet module, so it will be powered by the Ethernet port, and it will have its own little 3D printed box, which I made, so that none of the ports from the Raspberry Pi are exposed to the outside world. There's separate jumper ports that I put on the case with little fly cables. And so that's all in there. and hopefully it will get powered on today. And if you've been watching, if you follow the Twitter account FlockCam, @FlockCam on Twitter, you'll see the photos from when our chickens were still chicks, you know, back in April. They were still very small, they were indoors, we had a camera, it was fun. Now they're outside, we want to do the same thing, partly to keep an eye on them, partly to make sure we know what predators are around, partly just for fun. I'll probably build another similar camera here for the bird feeders, which are right outside the window I'm standing next to. And so it's a little bit of a fun project. Now, someone was asking about why is your internet so expensive? Well, let me put it like this. Our internet is not cable internet. It's not fiber, it's not ADSL. We could get ADSL here, but the ADSL, that's the stuff that comes through your phone line, the maximum speed for an ADSL here was 0.5 megabit per second. Which is about what my mum has on the farm back in Norfolk. She probably has about 2 megabits per second down and 0.5 megabit up, but you can't run a business through that, not if you're making videos. So we needed something beefier. This company came through for us. We have a direct line of sight to the next tower and then on down the village. So the latency is really good. It's 20 millisecond latency, which is incredible, down the valley to the local network. And they're plugged into a backbone, I believe, in like Hillsborough or something. And so that gives them a direct connection and us a pretty reliable connection. We need to upgrade our Wi-Fi to an ubiquity system because the Wi-Fi we've got in the house is terrible. So it's very weird. Most any Americans you might come across, here we go. People are asking why America has such terrible rural internet, and the reason is that a lot of people don't live out here. And that's part of the challenge. My CentOS server is done. Let's reboot it. So CentOS 8 installed on our server. I'm gonna go and sit in the living room, and then I can talk to you. And then I think I will go and finish my networking without your help, if that's all right. All right, let's talk about rural internet. Rural internet is a real kind of challenge here in the middle of nowhere. Because a lot of people don't use the internet. Hello, boy. This is my dog, Pepper. He is 13 and a half, and he is wonderful. And goodness, I need to vacuum today. That's on the list, isn't it? We've got to vacuum today. Yes. All right. Would you like me to throw that for you? Yep. Oh, good. Thank you. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Thank you. Oh, sorry, buddy. He's slowed down as he's got older, but his enthusiasm is most definitely still amazing. So very few people out here have decent internet. And so that means that the companies that are out here that are serving this neighborhood, they can charge pretty much what they want. Now, a lot of people are going, wow, you're spending $350 a month on internet access. How are you even doing that? Well, if you think about it, when we had the studio in downtown Hillsborough, we were spending $1,250 a month on rent, another $100 a month on electricity, and then on top of that, we were spending, I think it was $270 a month for internet. And that was for 100 megabits per second or 200 megabits per second, I can't remember. Which was faster, obviously. And we had a dedicated IP, so we could have a server in the studio if we wanted, like a web server if we wanted to. That's what we were originally going to do, and then we never got around to it because of COVID. But the economics of me working from home now are actually in my favor, because from the taxman's point of view, I can claim back any room that is exclusively used for my business. Now, we currently have 3 rooms, pretty much half of the top floor, so that's 500 square feet. That is exclusively for use by my business. The server closet, the edit room, which is our office, we're both working from home now, and the studio where we film. So we can claim that, and obviously we can also, the internet is a business expense, so we can claim the difference between what we would be paying if we were doing a normal, if we were using a normal internet connection versus, you know, this crazy high-end internet connection that is stupidly expensive. But it does have some advantages. I don't have to worry about commuting. I don't have to worry about getting stuck in traffic. My co-workers are really nice. We're allowed dogs in the office and chickens in the yard, so that's pretty good. But yeah, just so that you can see kind of the extent of where we're at, we have literally got a networking port in every room apart from the bathrooms. So there's 4 in this room, there's 2 in the kitchen, there's 2 in the dining area, there's 2 in the music room, there's 8 in our office, so we've both got a patch of 4 each in the office. There's 4 in what is currently my daughter's bedroom, because the networking guy screwed up. He was supposed to put 4 in the other room, which is the studio, which only has 2. We didn't catch it in time. There should have been 4 in that room and 2 in my daughter's bedroom, but she's got 4, and I've got 2 in the studio. We've got 2 in our bedroom. We've got 2 in the garage. And now I've just run 2 additional ones to the chicken coop. So I think that totals like 28 connections in total. And the reason we do that is because we prefer wired networking. It's far superior to Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi in this house is absolutely terrible. I'm surprised it's working. So that's where we're at. That is how we're able to get the chicken cam working with the 802.11 AF standard, with the power over Ethernet. And hopefully later on today you'll see some first images of that in operation. So anyway, I'm gonna have to go, but great to talk, and I will be back on Tuesday with great content for you all to enjoy. Keep evolving.